if you give a guy like that, if you give a guy that kind of commercial space, they'll all get ratings. He just finally got to my ratings that I got for the Love More Than Do fight in 2007. Look at the Boxing After Dark ratings I got for the Love More Than Do fight. And nobody promoted that fight. Nobody. And I got the highest ratings on a Boxing After Dark for about 3 or 4 years until Chavez broke my record when he fought Zabik. And nobody promoted that fight. This guy gets 2 days with Adrien Broner. Let's follow him here. Hey guys, let's do this with him. And he's still just getting to those ratings now. Are you kidding me? It's not about him. It's about the people pushing him, bro. It ain't about him. If anybody gets pushed like that, they'll get those ratings. If you push me like that, I would have got twice the ratings because I'm way more marketable than this guy. I'm way more marketable. I'm better looking. You can understand me when I talk. I can speak in 3 languages. My teeth are straight. I'm not a rapper on the side. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, I got a couple of guys here that will rap better than him, though. But, you know, dude, the marketability doesn't come from saying, you know. He's done a 360 for no reason. He doesn't know 360 because he's thinking of what he's saying. Meantime, he don't go back to the camera. You know, AB, about bankruptcy. You know what I mean? That's what he's going to be. That's what he's going to be, dude. You know what I mean? If I'm done with him, he can start talking about that. Al Heyman. That's it. 2 words. Al Heyman. That's all you got to say. That's it.
He said you're the same Paulie. What's your response?
I'm the same Paulie?
That's what he said. You're the same Paulie.
What do you mean, the same Paulie as in what?
As a fighter.
As a fighter?
That you haven't involved.
I haven't involved. Well, okay, we'll see Saturday night. You know, there's an easy way to figure that one out. Saturday night we get in the ring. We got 36 minutes to prove that part, the combat part of it. The combat part of it, we can prove to each other. The marketability part of it, though, you know, that's all hearsay. That's all hearsay. I'm going to say this. He's going to say that. You guys are going to say something else. That's all hearsay. But the combat part of it, that's about 96 hours away, dude. We're almost there.
WBA Welterweight champion Paulie Malignaggi faces undefeated 2-time world champion Adrien Broner on Saturday, June 22nd. It's at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. It'll be broadcast live on Showtime World Championship Boxing starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's Fight Week here in New York City, which brings us to Gleason's Gym, where we had the opportunity to speak with both of the fighters.
You always get sick of the training, but you're not always sure how sharp you've gotten. I'm 99% sure I'm as sharp as I'm going to be right now.
Who's forward to get ready?
Kareem Mayfield, Keandre Gibson, Steve Forbes, to name a few. Also, got some New York fighters here. Dimash. What's Dimash's last name? It's too long. Dimash, prospect. Yeah. We had a couple of fighters in Texas, Benjamin Whitaker and Scipio. I think it's Kenton Scipio. I don't know if his name is Scipio, but good prospects. We had a lot of fighters. We worked with Patrick Day up in New York as well. This kid Tyrone, who was an amateur, nationally ranked amateur. Also at welterweight. We had a lot of good work, a lot of fast work, a lot of sharp work. All good fighters. They really prepared us throughout the entire camp.
The whole camp was on the West Coast, not in Cali?
Started it on the East Coast. I kept training throughout my traveling with Showtime, which is why I had to work in Texas as well, which I'll shout out the guys I worked with in Texas, both Scipio and Whitaker. Then I moved it on to LA, where I worked with Mayfield, Forbes, and Gibson primarily. And then I brought Gibson with me to New York, and I added Dimash as well. I started at the camp with Day and Tyrone early on.
Maybe looking in for a KO, man. So my 4th, 5th round. How do you see this going down?
I say bring it, you know. If that's what you're looking for, bring it, you know. Actions speak louder than words, you know. Miguel Cotto told me something years ago when I fought him. He said, no fighter ever won a fight with words, you know. And I was sitting there yapping. So, you know, it was one of the most truthful things I've ever been told about this business. Because then I got my reality check when I fought him that night. So on the night of June 10th, 2006. So I really hold those words dear. I've always been a talker, but in the end, they don't win you fights. If Ray B's saying stop me in 4, 5, 6 rounds, I hope he's ready to put his money where his mouth is, and he's ready to step up to the plate and fight that way when they ring the bell.
April 29th, you went overseas to capture that WBA title. But there was a hunger inside of you because, you know, the networks didn't want to put you on. Golden Boy didn't really bid what they should bid for that fight, and they got outbid in the purse bid. So you had a drive, you had a certain motivation to want to go over there and win and get that title to prove everybody wrong. And you did, because now you're main event again on the big networks. How do you keep that drive? How do you keep that hunger?
The hunger stays just because you think you're finally going to be respected and you're not. You know, I think I've had that my whole career, you know. it wasn't real. I couldn't blame Golden Boy for not bidding enough to get in the fight, because if the networks don't want the fight, they putting up the money for the bid, you know. So if you know already going into the bid that the network is not going to buy that fight, well then, you know, it wasn't possible for Golden Boy to bid that high, you know. I thought it was a bit insulting, you know, when you have a guy like Adrien Broner and the networks are buying his opponents, you know, opponents that sucked, for lack of a better word, sucked going into the fight. Not that they sucked when he made them look bad. Guys like Floyd Mayweather make a good fighter look bad. Guys like Adrien Broner take a bad fighter, and he looks bad against them, of course. I mean, what is the guy supposed to look? He's not that good to begin with. So it was insulting when the networks wouldn't buy the Zinchenko fight, because in fighting Vyacheslav Zinchenko, I was fighting an undefeated guy, a guy who had represented his country in the Olympics in 2000 in Sydney, a guy with a good backbone, have a boxing background. He may not have fought in the U.S. yet, and he may not have been known, which is the excuse that the networks used at that time, was your opponent's not well known enough. Well, last time I heard, the guy Adrien Broner beat for his first world title, nobody ever heard of him either. Last time I heard, Gavin Reese wasn't exactly a household name in the U.S. Last time I heard, I never heard of Eloy Perez until he fought Adrien Broner that night. So the fact that excuse was used against me to not buy the Zinchenko fight was very insulting to me, because I had put in so much work into this business for so many years, and I had given a lot of blood, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of sweat and tears to get to where I was trying to get back to at that time. So yeah, it was insulting, and I went over there with a chip on my shoulder, and I got the job done. I thought I would get that respect. Some of it came, some of it didn't. But here I am again in a similar situation. I'm just fighting at home. I'm not getting that respect. So I fight for that respect. I have it for myself. I fight for myself more so than anything. I don't feel like I'm ever going to get it, but I keep that chip on my shoulder because it's the only thing that drives me. Nobody else is going to believe in me if I don't believe in myself. So
was it a smack in the face then to see Zinchenko live versus Ricky Hatton?
Yeah, you know, it was funny. My attorney, he hit me up and he's like, well, you gotta fight Hatton if you beat Zinchenko. And then Zinchenko stops him, and he's like, well, Zinchenko giveth and Zinchenko taketh away. You know, it was I took the title from Zinchenko, but I lost a very hefty payday, and I had Ricky Hatton rematch because of the same guy. So, you know, that's the way life works out. I wasn't gonna sit there crying about it. I climbed back on the horse and keep riding and see what's next. And the Adrien Broner situation, the Adrien Broner problem, for lack of a better word, presented itself. So here we are. We're getting ready for that.
Now, you spoke of respect and never being able to get it, but in this fight, everybody's basically looking at it as, oh, he's picking the weakest welterweight. So if you win, you should get the credit that you feel you deserve.
I should, but then again, everybody was picking against me for Zinchenko last year, right? I don't remember seeing anybody pick me to win that fight. And when I beat him, what happened? That guy was overrated, that guy was nothing, that guy was this. Do I really get credit for that win? I mean, people talk about my biggest fights in my career, they talk about only the losses. Nobody talks about how they were talking about before the Zinchenko fight, though, you know? So you know, I don't expect it. I expect everybody to say this was a blown-up lightweight who came up, who was overrated, who had been given a lot of credit before he ever earned anything, which is basically the same thing I'm saying now, but I think people are going to say it once I beat him and make him look bad. But, you know, like I said, I don't expect to get that credit. You know, I don't expect to get that respect. Really, my main focus has been recently just to I fight for the paycheck, man. You know what I'm saying? I have that chip on my shoulder once the fight gets there, that as a grown man, I got another grown man across the ring from me, and I'm proved that I'm more man than him by taking him on one-on-one and beating him. But at the end of the day, if it wasn't for the paycheck, man, I wouldn't care less. I couldn't care less, because I'm not going to get any respect from anyone anyway, no matter what I do. So really, I don't walk away from this because I get paid well for doing it. So if you keep in mind everything that I've done, you wouldn't just remember the losses. You remember there's times where people thought I was going to lose. There's been times where I've been an underdog in my career and I've won. And I'm not just talking the Zinchenko fight. I was an underdog, believe it or not, in the Juan Diaz rematch. You know what I mean? If you remember the odds for that fight, I was an underdog again. So, you know, there's been fights where in my career where I've been the underdog going in and I've won, and people just forget about those. They remember the times where I've talked a lot and lost. So you're going to win and you're going to lose. In reality, I'll tell you how people should look at me. People should look at me as this kid's accomplished a lot, and this kid's only lost to top fighters. He's only not lost only his big fights. He's won big fights too, but he's only lost top fighters. Instead of looking at me like that, they say, oh, anytime he stepped up, he's lost. So what do I got? Do I really got to lose the bums to get the credit? Like, oh, okay, he lost to a couple of bums too, so he didn't only lose to top fighters. So we'll give him credit for the good wins he has too. It's ridiculous, and which is why I said I stopped thinking about it. I stopped worrying about it. I fight for myself. You know, I continue not to be respected. I don't mind that, but at the end of the day, it's a motivation, it's a drive, and I have that chip on my shoulder because of it.
I'm Kristal Hart reporting from Gleason's Gym here in Brooklyn, New York. See you at the fights. Thanks for watching and hope you've enjoyed the show.